Welcome to the Thin Blue Line Outdoors Podcast.
This pig came bottling.
Just ended up puking last night. It sucked.
Whoa! Ah!
We got it, we wrap it in tinfoil, throw it over the fire.
All right, everyone. This is podcast 98. We're getting close to podcast 100. As we record this, we're taking a break between our hunting. It's November 12th. It's time to be in the woods, but luckily Korie here, gracious with his presence, and instead of spending time in the tree stand. So we appreciate that, and obviously we got Kyle here as well. So I know all three of us have been hitting the woods quite a bit. I know it sounds like Korie and I both have some stories to tell from this morning hunt. So I'm going to let Korie kind of introduce himself first, how he met Kyle, and then we'll talk about this morning hunt and go from there. So go ahead, Korie.
Yeah, I'm Korie Vire. I work for Illinois law enforcement, and I met Kyle back at Academy just in last April, or just last April, down in Belleville. And we were talking about how he was a part of this group and everything. And once we graduated and deer season came upon us, we ended up getting in touch with each other. And I started sending a little bit of videos to him and everything because I love recording my hunts. And, it's been a ride this year for me. I've been fortunate enough in the last few years to get some pretty good bucks. And I think my luck is kind of starting to dry out. That's at least what everybody in my group over here is saying. So,
yeah.
But I mean that time comes and goes. So, but I've got quite a few stories leading up in just this last week with me in the woods, and I'll just start with I think it was last Friday. I got sat up and I was in a saddle, and I hunt just over here, Eastern Illinois, over by the Indiana line. And I hunt a lot of fence rows, a lot of tree lines that intertwine with some chunks of woods, but they're not huge. And I got a lot of big deer up there, and you just sometimes don't know what you're going to get. And I know last Friday I had this picture of this buck that he wasn't ginormous, maybe 140, 150, and I rattled him in, and he came working his way out of another finger, which is another point, and worked his way straight to me from the east, heading west, and he got about 15 yards away, and I had him broadside, and sure enough, as soon as I went to grunt to stop him, he stopped and turned and faced right at me, and I was full draw.
Yeah,
I was full draw, and I held it for as long as I could, and he was not moving. And he's looking up at me. Obviously, he's 15 yards away, and he's like,
"It's just full frontal."
I see. Yeah, he's like, "I see you, and I know you're gonna mess up, move." But I was trying not to. I thought in my head, I was like, you know what? I'm in a tree stand. I have one option here, and that is to try to put it right in his front brisket, try to get down in, try to find some vitals. Well, wherever I hit him, it stuck him good, and I think I've obviously found some bone, because I think he took my arrow once I shot, and I'd say I'm shooting 29.5-inch arrows cut, and I'd say maybe 8 inches of arrow got penetration. So I don't know if I caught shoulder blade when he turned on me. I don't know if I hit. I don't know what I hit, but I know it was bone the way it stopped and the noise that it made. Yeah. But we ended up tracking for about 150 yards that evening. And me and my dad did. He was actually behind me. He parked. He stayed at the buggy. I said, hey, I'm going to start tracking, see what I can see. He's like, all right, I'll just stay back here and kind of wait for a minute. Well, I started tracking, and this was probably about 2 hours after the shot. And sure enough, he calls me, and I'm on good blood. I mean, it was pretty good, decent blood for 150 yards. And he calls me. He goes, hey, what color is your knock? I said, well, I'm shooting a green knock that lights up. He goes, well, I see it moving. I said, not good. Not good. I said, okay. That's not good. That means he's alive, Dad.
Yeah.
I said, well, I'm backing out. So we ended up backing out, and we waited until I think 11:30ish that evening. And I had another guy come in with some thermals, which is an in-law, and he came in and we kind of snuck back towards where I last seen that light, because I ended up seeing the light too going, and it wasn't moving fast. I could tell he was hurt, but I just couldn't tell exactly. Obviously, it was dark. I couldn't tell where the arrow was or anything. I could just see a green light going across the field. And we stopped again. I think we went in for like 20 minutes just to see where he maybe possibly laid down. I ended up getting a hold of a guy that's locally that has a dog, and he ended up coming out with the dog the next morning around 10 a.m. And we tracked for probably 2.5 miles. And the dog was on something, but we couldn't tell if he was actually on the deer that I had shot or not. But we ended up pulling out, and just no luck. We wasn't even on blood. He stopped bleeding, and I mean it's fortunate enough that hopefully he'll live. I don't know unless he pulls that arrow out. Maybe if he gets an infection, I don't know. I hope he lives, but because he's a darn good deer. But that was a darn tough evening to sit on. But and then obviously yesterday, my brother, he got it done right here in just local area that we've got permission to hunt. We've got a lot of family that have a lot of property, so we hunt a lot of theirs. But this was a family friend that we hunt, and he was down there yesterday morning. He called me at 6:45, and I was not in the tree stand. I had my kids, and he's like, "Hey, I just shot a crazy looking buck," and which I think I sent it to the group, and he had a big old kicker on the left hand side. Chase pretty much told me, he's like, I just got off the phone with you, and which I did. I got off the phone with him, and it wasn't even 10 minutes later, he called me back, and he's like, I just rattled one in. He came in all bristled up, and he ended up shooting at like 8 yards, and I think he ran about 50 yards and ended up piling up, and then sure enough, about 10 minutes after he shot that one, I get a phone call from my dad, and he shot one. So, and they're at 2 separate properties.
Your dad?
What's that?
It was your dad that got the other one?
Yes, that was my dad that got the other one. And my dad, he when he's in the tree stand, he's getting to that age where he's trying to see the best he can, and he uses a crossbow, and he shot this deer, and I guess his lens fogged up on him when this deer came in, and he's like, I think I hit him, but I don't know. I put where my dot was at, and I think it was good. Well, he said once he hit that deer, he lost him. There's like a big CRP field right in front of him where this deer had come in on that CRP, and once he shot him, he ran back north, and he lost him in the CRP. And
you know about that?
Yeah.
Tracking deer in the CRP is nuts.
Dude, it's hard, especially at night. It's bad.
Oh, it's terrible. I mean, it's terrible. Well, he got down about, I think, an hour and a half, 2 hours later, and that's his way out. So he creeps over there, and he finds just dribbles of blood. And he calls us, and he goes, I ain't messing with it. He goes, I'm getting a dog. So, because he's had some bad luck in the past with tracking deer, and we just wanted to make sure. And we ended up getting the same guy. He ended up coming out around 2 p.m. and that dog we took him to last blood, which is probably maybe 60 yards from the tree stand. And that dog got into that cone, that scent cone is what he called it. And that dog already knew. He's like, I smell something. And that dog's trying to pull. And sure enough, this dog is like heading towards my dad's tree stand, like kind of off to the left of the tree stand, but he's kind of veering. And I'm looking at my brother, and I'm like, what is going on here? Sure enough, I guess while my dad was trying to look out in that CRP and trying to see what was going on, this deer, after he shot him, went out about 60, 65 yards, cut across the fence and came back behind him, and that dog found him. He was about 30 yards behind my dad's tree stand dead.
Oh my gosh.
In a little bitty pile, like a good pile of brush, but he ended up dying just right behind him to the left. And so I mean, it wasn't anything crazy, but yeah, he ended up finding him just 30 yards behind the tree stand. I looked at my brother and I was like, oh, you can't make this up at all.
Yeah, that's nuts.
But yeah, I mean, it's been a good year for them. So I mean, we've got a bunch of guys here too from Georgia. We got family members here. This is our Rutcation week, obviously, and it's been a good week. We just had a big breakfast, and I think we're going to all get out and get ready to go here in a little bit. But this morning, I mean, like I said, with my luck, I got out and I was hunting my property up north, and I was in my saddle. I left my platform on that same tree line. This is the same tree line that buck I shot at the other night. I left it all in a good spot. Well, the farmer has been working on the fields. He's a little late with getting the corn out because of the rain. He's been picking it and everything, and he wasn't quite done. He had the north side to get done. Well, I got trail cam. If I'm in the tree stand, I'm facing south, and it's overlooking a massive corn. And my camera to the south of me goes off. Well, it was a doe. And I'm sitting there. I'm like, oh, she's going to come out in this field. So I ended up getting my binoculars out, and I ended up finding her finally out in that field. She came across the knoll. There's a little knoll in that field. Well, she threw her tail up and kind of trotted a little bit, and she kept looking behind her. I'm like, oh, yeah. I was like, there's something.
We like to see.
Yep. I'm like, yep, this is about to happen. I got my binoculars back up, looked across that field, and sure enough, I'd say he was I've never seen this deer before. Obviously, during this time of year, things happen. I don't have any pictures of it or anything, but it was probably about 160-inch 10-pointer, and he was pushing her right at me. And I watched him. He chased her around that field for about 10, 15 minutes, and finally that doe came straight to my tree line to my right, and she started working her way up the tree line, and I hear a truck behind me.
Oh, no.
I kid you not, it was the farmer coming to finish the field, and as soon as he got across that ditch and cut across between the two fence lines, those deer took off. I was like, I'm done. My morning's done. They were getting the field ready and everything, and which, don't get me wrong, I love hunting when they're picking the fields. It's awesome. It depends on where you're sitting when they're cutting it, and I was not in the right position.
No.
That was my morning this morning. So I ended up getting my stuff. I got all down. I was like, I'm going somewhere else tonight. I'm gonna let them pick this corn, get it done, and
tomorrow will be the day.
Tomorrow I'm going back in. I'm going right back to the same spot, and hopefully I can get all one. So.
Hopefully he stayed in there, and you'll get a crack at him tomorrow.
Oh, I'm sure he is. He ran into the thicket. To the west of me, which is that's where they always go. I know he's got her up in there. So they're used to these combines too. I mean, they don't bother. I've watched deer eat out in the field when a combine is 50 yards from them. They don't care. That's a dinner bell for them.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yep.
So you're not out of the game yet. I didn't mean this podcast to go hunting mishaps, but we've had a lot of mishaps happen here lately with team members and myself. So I'm going to tell one of mine that happened this morning, and then Kyle tell his from the other day.
Yeah.
But this morning I go to a spot. It was, if you guys have watched the videos at all, where I shot my biggest buck earlier this year in October. The stand hadn't been hunted since that day, so I'm like, I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna hunt that spot. Hunt until about 10 o'clock, 10 o'clock, just depends on what I'm seeing. Go pull all the SD cards on the farm and put new ones and see what I have, because at the time in October I shot the biggest buck I had on camera out there. So I don't know, what has anything else moved in. So anyway, I get out there. I'm actually early for once. I'm never early, it seems like, when I go hunting. So I'm actually early for once. Everything's going well. I get to the stand, and it's a hang-on stand, but which you could hunt with a just regular safety harness. The way I have it set up, because the way the tree is, it actually makes sense to do your saddle from it. So you use the hang-on stand as your platform. So I get my bow on there on the rack, and as I take my last step up, my right shoulder hits my bow, pushes it up, falls all the way down to the tree.
Oh,
so I'm like,
gosh.
Okay. I'm like, I didn't see anything break. I was shining with my light. I'm like, okay, I think it's okay. So I go ahead and set everything up, climb down, go to pick up my bow. I'm like, something ain't right here. My whole sight housing sheared off. I have no sight. So I'm like, are you kidding me? So I pulled the one card that I was right next to, got the hell out of there. Do have a nice 140-ish buck that's moved in there that I'll looks mature. I'll definitely shoot him if I get a chance.
Yeah.
But that's some good news. The reason why we were a couple minutes late to the podcast is I'm sighting in my new sight with the bow. So I got it on 30 yards now. Once you get done with the podcast here, I'm gonna at least try to get it to 40 today. Probably tomorrow I'll try to hit my 50-60 mark, which I shoot this 45 and in is what I prefer. Longest bow shot I've ever made was last year. I made a 58-yard shot, and the only reason I shot is I had gut shot this doe, and this doe was out there at 58 yards, and I'm like, I'm gonna go ahead and put another arrow, and I nailed her. So again, I was happy. I practiced for that situation, but I don't take there's got to be a reason I'm taking that far shot, and obviously an injured deer is a good reason.
That's out there with a bow.
Yeah, it was, dude. It felt like it took that arrow forever to get out there.
Like you shoot it and set your bow down and watch it.
Yeah, exactly.
Is it there yet?
But I'm gonna let Kyle tell about his mishap. I'm gonna grab him and I some coffee real quick.
Yeah. So what was it? Was it yesterday?
Yeah,
It was. I think it was 2 days ago. So 2 days ago. So my stepson's been hounding me to go hunting, and I only got one ground blind to take him. And it's down at my aunt and uncle's place, and their place is down by the Illinois River bottom. So it's pretty much all just like flat down there. So it's tons of CRP, and then there's water and shit like that. So there's a ton of deer down there, and I've seen a bunch this year, and I killed my second doe down there. But so I don't remember what it was, but we had like I don't know. I think it had a wind where it wasn't any good at my grandma's place where I've been hunting, and that's where I've been getting pictures of my big bucks. Mm-hmm. But so I went down there, took him. My wife came with me. So I moved the blind probably, I don't know, 50 yards closer to where I saw most of the deer when I've been down there. And I was like, I don't know if this is going to work or not, but I'm like, we're going to be making noise anyway. I'm going to have the whole family down there in the blind. So I'm like, I'll just give it a try. So we move it. We sit down there for probably 2 hours, don't see a thing. It's probably 30 minutes for last light. Here come two does. They're coming right up, and I just got this. I bought one of those new blinds that have like two panels that you can see through. So I leave all the windows up, but you can like see through them. Yep. So I thought, oh, this will be perfect. So I leave all the windows up the whole time, and then the does are coming. So I got my wife up in the front right corner, my stepson sitting beside me in his chair, and then I'm sitting to the left here, and I got my wife working the camera. Mind you, she's wearing a like bright white raincoat because that's the only coat she had. I looked at her, I said, do you have any other coats you could have brought? I mean, it's like halfway down, it's pure white. I'm like, great. I'm like, all right, whatever. So she's sitting up in the corner, and so she's over by the window. So I'm working the left side of the window, and she's working the right side, and we're trying to get it pulled down. It's just one of those ones that just slide. It's not zippers or anything. So she's pulling it down, and I'm trying, and the doe is probably 20 yards on the edge of the cornfield. And so they're staring. There's two of them, and they're staring right at us. So every time they put their head down, I'm telling my wife, push it down. And then it pops its head up. I told my wife, don't move. She's never been hunting or anything like that either. So she freezes. And then I'm like, all right. I'm like, pull the window down. And she can't get it down very far. So it's probably open like that much. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, all right, whatever. I'm like, screw it. I'm going to try. The doe's starting to walk off away from me. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to give it a try. I'm like, I'm excited. We got to see a deer. I'm like, it'd be really cool if I get a deer first time I take my stepson hunting. So I go ahead, and the way the window is, I'd have to like crouch. I'd have to get up out of my chair and have to do a half a squat. So I'm like half squatted, get my hand up into the small gap of the window, and I pull back and shoot, and I shoot right over her back. I mean, just perfectly right over her back. And I was watching the video today. As soon as I shoot, I'm just like, dang it. I'm just like, shit.
Well, those are the videos. It's almost like, you know what? I'm not going to videotape the deer no more. I'm just going to videotape myself because this is pretty. And this is going to be fun.
I haven't watched that yet. I had my handy cam going it was on me. It was in the blind facing us. I haven't watched that yet. I bet it's pretty good because I'm trying to keep my stepson like back away from the bow because he's standing up and he's just so excited. And I'm just like, let's go back, let's go that way. I'm like, bow's like right here, and I don't want him get his hand anywhere near the string. I'm like, I'll just stay back there and make me quiet. He's like, okay. And then when I miss it, and then we get home, and he's like, I'm mad. Like, why are you mad? He goes, you missed the deer. I'm like, I'm sorry. And then I went to bed that night or whatever. I was tired. And my wife gets up to go to work, and my stepson's sitting on the couch watching his tablet with the light on, just in the living room by himself with the lamp on. My wife goes, Jamari, what's wrong? He goes, I'm mad. Kyle missed the deer.
Still
Give me a break. But he had a good time. My wife had a good time. She was pretty bored until that happened. Then after we got done, she's like, that was exciting. I'm like, see, it's addicting.
Yep. Yes, it
I think
is.
me and stepson same attitude the morning after we shot one, because I had the same attitude. I was like, I'm mad.
I'm mad.
Yeah,
I was fired up the other day myself. So again, and we'll get off the mishaps here in a little bit, but we've had a lot of mishaps here. Which as a team, we had a really good October, so we knew it was going to go downhill eventually. And so
it started off too easy, too easy and too good.
Yeah. So November 2nd and I think November 3rd were the days. I hung a new stand. I take that back. I was trying a new spot with my saddle, and I've had a pretty good year shooting, until recently. And I had two back-to-back days, two different coyotes come in at 20 to 30 yards, and each time I had to, kind of stop it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Each time I missed. I mean, had them dead to rights. Should have been dead. I missed these coyotes
20
both
yards?
times. 20 to 30,
20,
somewhere in there. I know before I switched to a new site, my pin was set to 25 yards. So, I just held right on.
Yeah.
And so each time I missed. So I'm like, I was more annoyed than pissed off because it's just because it was a coyote. I'm like, what the hell's wrong with me? And like with a deer, I get nervous. When I see a coyote, I'm like, oh, you're dead now. I'm not nervous at all. I'm gonna kill this sucker. And so anyway, that happens. And then November 8th. Yeah. So I saw deer every time I hunted this saddle spot. So the only thing I wanted to do, I wanted to get higher than what I was. I was probably only 18 feet up in the tree when I was doing the saddle. I wanted to get higher, and I wanted to hang on. I'm like, it's a good spot. And as you probably know, Korie, and I know Kyle knows this too, self-filming out of a saddle is kind of tricky. You can do it, but it is kind of tricky to self-film. Yeah. So a hang-on stand, as much as I love saddle hunting, a hang-on stand is easier for self-filming, 100%. So I said I go in there. It was we had a day. It was the wind. It was super high wind gust. Deer weren't moving. I went middle of the day at noon, and I went and hung this hang-on stand. Waited till November 8th to hunt it for the first time. Since hanging the stand. I'm seeing all kinds of little bucks. I'm filming them, having a good time. I see this doe come hauling with her tail up, just like you were saying. And I'm like, oh, like right away, the way she's running, like something's behind her. And I just have a feeling it's big. And I had changed my plans from the night before. I was actually going to go hunt our lease in Tazewell County with two of my fellow team members. But I get this new buck I did not know I had on camera at all show up that night. And he was last seen going direction of the hang-on stand. So I changed my plans. I'm like, hey, sorry guys, I got a new buck, just moved in. I'm gonna go hunt him. And he's anywhere between we haven't scored him yet, 150 to 160. So spoiler alert, I did eventually get my hands on this buck. But he's gonna be somewhere in that 150, 160 range. Anyway, this buck, he's goofy looking, comes hauling, chasing this doe right at me. And I mean, she's coming right at me. She runs right underneath the tree stand. I go ahead and pull back, and I'm on them. And I already had the camera set up perfectly. I mean, this is gonna
have to move it.
Yeah, this is gonna be great, And I go mar, and he stops right behind brush, and I can't shoot him. And this point in time, he's 12 yards. Has no idea. I'm just like, are you kidding me? Anyway, he chases that doe, does a big circle back in the field, he's coming back at me again. And I'm like, again, camera's already set up, rolling. I'm like, oh, here we go. Anyway, I pull back. He stops. He's frontal at like 25, 28 yards. I'm just holding on him. I'm like, I don't want to take it. He's not looking at me. So he's still just chilling. So I'm like, I got time. He doesn't know I'm here. He takes another 5 to 10 steps. He's 22 yards. I got he's slightly courting towards me, but I'm like, it's that close range. I got him. I'm like, ooh, I have a one limb blocking me my view. So I crouch, and I know exactly what I did. When I crouched, I took my cheek off the string to make sure I cleared that branch. And I know as soon as my cheek touched again, I fired off. I didn't resettle. I shot high, skimmed his back. He runs 10 yards, looks back, doesn't know what's happening. Problem is, I can't go. If I had another arrow ready to go, I could have shot again. Well, I obviously I don't. So I'm just like, I think you hear me go, shit. and I'm just sitting there like, Well, anyway, he runs off a little bit. Now he's like 50, 60 yards. I get time. I get another arrow knock, whatever. He goes another circle, and he goes at 30 yards again, but he's behind brush. I have a little forky that moves in right behind me. He sees that forky bristling up, and he's coming back around the way I just shot him, coming back around. And I can see him at 30. So now he does a circle, goes 50, 60 yards, comes back. He's 30 yards behind this autumn olive. He takes 2-3 more steps. I have a 30-yard shot. So I'm just like, I'm gonna get a chance to redeem myself. He ends up. He never takes those steps. He ends up chasing that doe behind me. And I can hear him behind me for another 5 minutes chasing this doe. I thought I clean missed him at first. But when I go down and find my arrow, I had a lot of fat on it and just a very little blood. So I'm like, okay. And I slowed mode the video when I got back here, and you can just see I just skimmed it, just skimmed his back.
Yeah.
So anyway, I tell my dad, hey, he's a good one. I don't have his buck on camera. He doesn't live on us, but he did not have that doe with him the night before. So we have essentially 72 hours to hunt him, like is what they say. He's going to be a buck on average. A buck will be with a doe for 72 hours. So there's a bedding area right between pretty much where my dad's property line and my property line meet. So I own 60 acres. He owns 120 acres. Bye, buddy. Bye, Quinn. My brother-in-law and my niece were here. But he's had a good year too. We'll have to have him on the podcast talk about his buck.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I text my dad. I'm like, hey man, we got 72 hours. I'm pretty sure he's in that bedding area behind us where those does like. And we knew he's got to go north or he's got to go south. Is more than likely is what he's going to do. So my dad for a week straight has been hunting this. He's just got a good ground blind. He shuts all the windows so his scent's kind of contained, and he doesn't jump around stands. He just sits there until it happens. And so I kept hunting that stand to the south of me. I hunted that evening, don't see him. Hunted that morning, don't see him. My dad doesn't see him. He's not showing up on any cameras. At that point, I'm getting nervous. I'm like, did he go east or west and missed all my cameras somehow? Well, my dad, when that big rainstorm came in, he got out there early, has doe decoy, has a little 6-pointer come in, give him a show right in front of the decoy. It runs off. And he's just sitting there. Sure enough, next you know, he got rid of his doe. Big boy comes in right at 25 yards. Dad makes a perfect shot with his crossbow, and kind of same thing. His eyes and his shoulders are bad, so he's using his crossbow. Anyway, shoots him. The guy runs off to the edge of the field, and you can tell like he doesn't know what happened. Next he's doing the teetering and falls down right there at the edge of the field. So I did get my hands on him eventually. It wasn't me, but my dad got him. So yep,
that's right. That's all that matters. Yeah. Somebody.
Exactly. I was happy. Nothing against my neighbors. I got good neighbors, but I'm happy somebody with the Johnson name got him.
Yeah, somebody.
So it's good
that's usually how we try to look at things too. Is like if it's in within the group. I mean, we get really happy.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Most of our family, me, my brother, and my dad, and we got a couple other friends that we let hunt. And if it's in with us, I mean we don't care. I mean, if it makes you happy and it gets your heart pumping, by all means, let it fly. This is your tags and your hunt, and that's what it's about, is that thrill. And it's just it's awesome. And it's I wouldn't say like just this year, like I said earlier, it hasn't been like I've had really good past years of hunting. I mean, last year I ended up shooting a deer that was like I think 148, 150. Mm-hmm. I named him Deuce because he had two split or G2s.
Oh yeah,
hey, that's a perfect name. We'll call him Deuce. And I shot him like I think it was like October 6th or 7th.
Oh wow, that's really nice.
Yeah, and I think I've sent the pictures to. I don't know if I've sent it to the group or not on the.
I don't think I've seen it.
But I'll send you a picture of Ghost. So the history with this deer, and I have yet to shoot him, yet to get a shot at him. I don't know if anybody around me has shot him. If he has been shot, I'm sure a lot of people will hear about it because this Joker is he's huge. I've been hunting him since 2022, and 2022, I'd say he was mid 150s. Give or take. I have pictures of him from then. Well, then last year rolls in. Well, he obviously was pushing. He was probably pushing 170s. I know he's at least 160s. He was a really nice deer, and on the hoof, I'd say he's at least pushing 300 pounds. And I think I had 60 yards last year with a doe in the thicket. I ended up sneaking in that thicket, and he came from the field. And I kid you not, my neighbor that lets me hunt that property, he calls me. He goes, "Hey, did you leave your decoy up in the field?" I said, "No, I would never do that." He goes, "Well, there's a giant buck standing out in the middle of the field right now." And I was like, "You've got to be kidding me." I said, "Where is he heading?" I said, he's like, "He's heading north." I said, "Well, I'm north." I was like, "I'm just on the other side of the thicket." He goes, "Well, he's coming right to you, and he's pushing a doe." And I ain't kidding you. It wasn't even 10 seconds later, I seen him jump the fence, and I could see he was just coming right.
What's your heart rate doing during that?
Oh. I didn't even have I was shaking real bad. I was like, he's going to push her right to me. Well, this deer, and after running all my cameras on these tree lines, I haven't obviously figured this deer out, other than the fact that he does not like to go into the woods. He don't.
Oh,
this is a prairie.
Yeah, but he's been shot at.
Yes, I continued watching this deer maneuver this doe, because I was sitting on the edge of the woods, and he would not let her go to these woods to save his life. He kept cutting her off and pushing her back out to the tree line so he could see everything. Yeah. And that's where I get all these pictures at. Well, I never seen him again after that. I mean, he completely disappeared for the rest of the year. Well, then I think it was October 2nd of this year, he showed up on my camera on the fence line, hitting a scrape, and he completely exploded. He lost. He had a split brow last year, and I think his brow was every bit of 10, 12 inches. And he's got a big old right side, a big old left side brow, and his mass is just unreal. So he was a 12 last year, but he kind of took the little points that he had kind of sticking out everywhere last year, and all of it grew into mass. I can definitely tell it's the same deer because of the brow. The right brow is like kind of sways in. And it's only a 9-pointer this year, but we compared him with a buddy of mine's buck that he shot a couple years ago, and it was like 170 inches. And we compared side-by-side pictures, and I kid you not, this deer would eat that one. And he's only not. It is unreal what this deer. I couldn't even imagine what he'll score. But I mean, what gets me real fired up is just the size of his body in this video. And like I said, I'll send it to you, and you guys can check it out and watch him hit the scrape. And I mean, it's unreal how smart this deer really is, though. I mean, I've hunted these fence lines, and I don't know exactly where I need to set up. I kind of have an idea of the little grassy area that he's always wanting to venture off into. But I haven't had a picture of him in a couple weeks, which it's not a bad thing because they are cutting that field out. So I think he's pushed his way off to another field edge or another strip of woods. That's what he does.
Right. But, you think he's about 6.5 then? You've been hunting him?
I think he was honestly 3.5 years old, 4.5 years old when I first saw him. Because he wasn't a slouch. He had a big body then too. And then obviously last year he got even bigger. And then this year he got even bigger. If I don't get him this year, I'm just really hoping he don't die of old age at this point. Because he's getting up there, and he might start losing stuff too. I mean, he might start shrinking down in his mass.
He might be peaked out if he's that big.
I think this would be his peaking point this year, honestly.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like out of the history. But I mean, you never know.
No, you don't. And that's the thing. Like, after really learning what these deer do on these fence lines, I hardly hunt the woods anymore. I will go in and get into the woods, but I will sneak in on a fence line, and I've got the perfect maneuver to get in without spooking anything. And the way they work these transition units from one field edge to the fence line, and when I say fence line, there's still woods on the fences, but they're not. Yeah. It's not like it's like 30 foot wide. That's it. You know.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. No. So the place I killed my big buck this year, a couple fence lines, kind of like what you're talking about, and I have missed bucks on that fence line before. Should have killed back in the early days. But I really like. I don't know if you gun hunt or not. I really like gun hunting them because you can reach out and touch them a little bit. So, but yeah, no, I agree with you because I think a lot of these big bucks know, hey, we go in the woods. That's what bears are. Like, stay away.
They do. And if you really watch them and like the way they act when they get into the woods, they are more curious of what's going on rather than being out in the field and being able to see everything. And I feel like they get pretty good scent pickup when they're in the woods because it kind of sticks around a little bit more. I don't know how that all works, but that's just in my opinion. Rather than being out on open field when your scent is just it's gone, being pushed. And
I hope you're right on that because my grandma's kind of where I'm hunting these big deer is a fence line. So it's cornfield to the east, and it's a fence line with just a little bit to the left of it, but then it drops down into a huge ravine. So there's just like a small strip of timber. So
I would say when it comes to our team members right now, Kyle's definitely hunting. Either you or Matt are hunting the two biggest bucks right now that we know of.
It's just
so you and Matt both got some big ones you're chasing. So
the problem with the two big, like I said, the one big one, he's just been nocturnal, and I got a picture of him last night. I got a video of him because I went by that camera today, and I think it's the one I sent you. One of the ones I sent you.
I think I've seen that one. That's a good deer.
It was I'm pretty sure it's important. I sent you. I got a picture of him on October 28th, and it was real early in the morning, like 4 a.m. And he was coming down on the property, heading down to there's two ponds on the property, and there's some bedding down there, and then I got a picture of him last night at like 10 p.m. going the opposite way, like he was leaving the property. So he's traveling there, and that's the only two pictures I've got of him, or those 2 times all year. And I don't know if I got a picture of him last year or not. So I think it's a different buck because I was hunting a pretty decent sized buck last year that was probably like a 150 or a 160. And I saw him a couple times in person, but wasn't able to get a shot. Unfortunately, I was actually taking a shit, and he walked up on me on November 10th last year. November 10th last year.
I'll tell you right now, you don't want to have to go to the bathroom that bad in a saddle when you're saddle hunting. It's like
I know. Yeah, that's not fun.
Oh, it's awful. I thought last year I wasn't even gonna make it out of stand. I was like, now I'm gonna ruin this saddle.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Yeah. No, but So I don't think it's that one because I got another picture of another. I have a big 8 that's on the property too, and I think that's the one I saw last year. So I think this 10-pointer is just a new deer, but hopefully I see him in daylight.
Mm-hmm. Korie, what saddle are you operating?
Yeah.
What saddle?
The tethered.
Tethered. Okay.
Tethered. Yep, and it's I think it's the first gen that they had come out. I can't remember the exact name of it. Phantom.
Was the Mantis? They don't even make the Mantis anymore. If that was it.
No, I think this one's the Phantom.
Okay, the Phantom. I got that one.
And then I just got the platform for it, the XL platform.
Do you like it?
I love it, and the reason I love it is because I do not. Don't get me wrong. I have tree stands that are set up in the woods and everything like that. But I do not like going in and hunting the same exact tree all the time. I am more of I like to be a mobile hunter. That doesn't mean when I get in there, I like getting down too much. I will get down and change spots. I don't think if I'm not seeing nothing, I'm going to get down. I'm going to change spots. But other than that, like I really like my saddle and everything. And it's a great way to get down real quick and go to a different spot. And not only that, like, I'm a big I shoot recurve too. I got a recurve, nice recurve that I had custom made.
Oh, that's
I haven't yet to. I've pulled it out a couple times this year, but after the year that I have had with my compound, I'm like, I ain't touching this thing until I figure out what's going on.
You don't want to make it harder yet.
Exactly. And don't get me wrong, I've shot a nice buck 2 years ago with my recurve, and it's probably the best feeling in the world. It's like 10 times better than shooting one with a compound. I can't even imagine, like, tell you how the adrenaline rush is. It's unreal. But it's just, I have not. Yeah, like I said, maybe if I get a good one down with this compound, I'll try to go after him, or go after another deer with this recurve. But it's just, like I said, got to build my confidence level back up.
I hear you there.
We'll have to. We'll have to maybe in the future. You come hog hunting with us. Kyle's with me. I've only got one recurve kill. I was with a hog last year, and Kyle's filming me, and it was it got western. It was fun.
Yeah, first we were on the ground, so we were on the ground because he's like, he doesn't want to shoot farther than 10 yards with the recurve. So
I wanted him in my lap.
So we're on the ground, and these hogs just start running right at us, man, and we had to jump over them.
Yeah,
but it was fun.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't want to take too much of your time because I know we all want to get out in the woods. So last thing, Korie, obviously sounds like you've been an outdoorsman your whole life. That's same here, same for Kyle. But you, like Kyle, recently got into law enforcement. So if you kind of want to explain why you got in law enforcement, and also, and again, I know you're still kind of new to the law enforcement gig, but maybe talk about how the outdoors is helping you or has already helped you with just balancing that first responder lifestyle, essentially. And just, like, I know for me, getting stepping away and getting outside calms me. I'm a lot nicer person. And then, and honestly, in high stress situations too, I really think hunting has helped me because, I've had some, critical incidents that could have went south and I was pretty calm for. But yeah, you get a big buck in front of me, and I'm shaking like a leaf. And I have no doubt those adrenaline, my whole life dealing with those situations helped me in law enforcement. So you just want to talk about your angle, your opinion, your experience.
Like I really do enjoy my job, and the reason I kind of got into it, and I know a lot of people don't like to hear this, but we were struggling financially. And I was actually I was a teacher before I got into law enforcement. And before I got into teaching, I was actually working for a juvenile detention center as a CO. And I didn't mind it at all. I'm a person that needs to be out and about. I'm not in a building locked up with anybody. I'm like I said, a mobile person. I want to be out and about. So I ended up getting into teaching for a little bit, and then it just wasn't working out. Money wise and everything. So I ended up finding this job. And, when you talk about the whole situation, everything like that, and with me being new into law enforcement, I haven't had anything too crazy yet. And I know it's bound to happen, but I feel like if you relate it to deer hunting, the adrenaline rush that you get from a big buck walking in is probably pretty darn similar. Obviously, it's a little different with the scenario, but like the day after I shoot a buck and my adrenaline is like skyrocketed, I get sick. I'm kidding you. The next day I have a headache. My stomach's upset. It's like, it's awful. And I can't explain it, but it's because of that adrenaline rush that I get from, and I enjoy it. I really do enjoy that deer hunting adrenaline, man. If I didn't enjoy it, I probably wouldn't do it. I'll put it that way right now. That I'd be done deer hunting if I lost that feeling ever. Right. So, I enjoy my job. I'm still working through FTO right now until January. And I think I'm on phase 3 right now. So it's moving along. So I'm just ready. I am ready to get out and start working on my own and everything. I still have a long way to go. I'm still learning a lot. I'm working around a bunch of good guys that know how to do the job. So I just got to keep taking all the information I can in and just get into a rhythm, really. Because right now is probably one of the most stressful times is going through FTO phase.
Oh yeah, for sure, man.
Yes.
It was.
I don't want to.
FTO is not supposed to be fun.
It's not. I don't want to mess up because growing up, I don't like messing up. I've always wanted to be perfect at everything I do, and like I'm sitting here in front of these guys, and I'm like, hey, I don't want to do anything wrong. I want to do everything right because that's how I was raised. And that puts a little bit more stress on me, on myself, because I'm thinking that. And I'm sure they have the same mindset too when they're grading me on everything. And that's another thing, being graded on everything. I'm like, oh, dude, I just messed everything up. They're going to tell Chief.
Yep. So obviously I was FTO'd. And then I am an FTO, and there's just some of the mind games we play on the new guys. Kyle knows all about it.
Yeah. I've been on my own for a week now, and it's so much better.
I bet.
It's just it's just the fact of not having someone like right there, like just like think, like question, not really question everything you do, because you know when you get to shadow phase and they're just like, oh, you know, you just kind of do whatever. They just don't say anything, but they're still right there. So like you don't want to make the wrong decision. So you're always I think you're like double thinking everything you do. And once I've got by myself, man, it was just, I don't know, it's clicking pretty fast. And then
I can't wait for that feeling because like
it's nice. I tell you, it's nice.
I'm sitting in the driver's seat. And I'm like hiding myself. I'm like, man, I don't know what this guy's thinking.
Yeah.
He probably thinks I'm an idiot, but I'm really not an idiot. But I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just, I'll get
nice. Mm-hmm.
But I'm getting closer, and so is Gage, obviously the one that we went to academy with.
Yeah.
I mean, we're actually we split shifts, so he's on my back half of my 6 on. So me and him got to kind of work together on seconds on our last 3 days. But it'll be good in the long run and everything, and hopefully I can get through this phase 3 and the shadow phase.
Will.
Yeah, but it'll be just a bad memory in the end.
So much,
and they do. You guys, the FTOs do play mind games and everything. They play little tricks, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm just gonna go along with it. Whatever.
That's the best way to handle it. Well, Korie, we'll end this. Just stay on before when I end the recording a little bit. But number one, good to finally talk to you. I know we've been talking through the chat a little bit. We're definitely going to get together, either do some hunting or you could probably show me a trick or two when it comes to fishing, it sounds like.
My fishing. I enjoy my fishing.
Yeah, that's what Kyle's telling me. So,
I was telling him about your kayak you showed me that you had.
Yep, I like my fishing. No, don't get me wrong.
Yep. So I have to plan that or sometime. But
absolutely.
Good luck the rest of the season. Good luck with FTO.
Well.
Yep. And then hopefully we'll have you back on when you kill a big one.
Yeah, hopefully you kill ghosts.
Oh yeah, that's my cameras are going off right now. So it's either wind or it's a big. I don't know.
Yeah,
I can hear everybody. Everybody's getting in their cars and everything. Everybody's getting ready, so it's getting to be that time now. So
yep, sounds good. So like I said, stay on real quick, Korie. To everybody else who is watching this and listening to this, we appreciate all the support. You know, we've had a great deer season so far. On the website right now, we have merchandise for sale. We have our hats like we normally do, but T-shirts are back on it. So if you're interested in T-shirts or anything like that, check it out. And we also have our coffee and all that good stuff. So firearm season's coming up. So if you want a orange beanie, orange hat for firearm season here in Illinois, at least, it's coming up. Hurry up, get on the website. If you order in the next week, I can get it to you in time. Other than that, guys, thanks. Make sure you like and subscribe and stay safe out there.